Welcome to another episode of Exploring the Vintage NFT Space podcast with Zero G. Today, I'm really excited to have Shawn Leary, one of the Rare Pepe OGs and scientists.
Hello.
Thanks for
Hey,
joining.
Zero G.
Thanks for joining me today, Shawn.
Absolutely, anytime.
Man, we've got a lot to talk about in the Pepe space. You've got quite the legacy. But before we jump into NFTs and Pepes, the other part of the story is crypto. Let's talk about like how you first learned about crypto and how you got involved.
Yeah, I think really what got me in was an Ars Technica article that came out about Butterfly Labs. I think it was called the Jalapeno. It was like a little 2 gigahash miner that the author of the article said, "Hey, I just made $800 this week mining Bitcoin," and so I immediately FOMOed into that. Ordered my mining rig. Was posting all over Reddit locally, trying to find people that were mining and trying to learn about it, and it was a complete bust. I mean, I mined for a few days. I made like $28. I watched Bitcoin go from $100 when I ordered the miner to $1,200, and now I'm like, okay, I missed it. This was the big pump, and sold the Bitcoin miner and just got humbled. Like everyone comes into Bitcoin, you get humbled quick. I basically scammed myself. Instead of putting that $1,200 into Bitcoin, I made $300 when I sold the mining rig on eBay, after a few days. So I had that, but you come into Bitcoin kind of wanting to be rich. I'm gonna print money in my office, right? But then you start to appreciate the technology. I have a little bit of a programming background, having studied it at university. Never pursued it professionally, but I have just enough smarts to kind of understand stuff. I can, run programs. I can do some testing here and there, but none of the hard coding stuff. But I knew there was something special about the first internet money. And, when email came out, I was evangelizing email. I would, in 1995, if I talked to you, I would ask you, do you have email? No, get email. And if you did have email, we were best friends, like immediately. And the Bitcoin is the same thing. Once someone understands Bitcoin, you're like brothers and sisters with them already, because you get it. And so there's a little bit of that cult aspect to it, which it's a nerd cult basically, and nerds have trouble communicating. And all of a sudden we're meeting up together, and now we're sharing, cool stuff. So it's very addicting, and you start to understand how powerful it is. And that libertarian kind of ethos, which I, subscribe to, really fits in well. And kind of the rest is history. I started a meetup in Jacksonville. I was a little upset that there wasn't one, because Jacksonville's home of the first Bitcoin. The Bitcoin pizzas were made here at the Papa John's on Atlantic Boulevard. And
okay, I didn't know that.
Later on, my meetup made a plaque, and we brought it to the Papa John's, and the manager came out. He was very nice to us, and they kind of threw the plaque in the back. But now they actually have it on display in the actual little lobby there. And they've had some media come and do interviews, so I think that's pretty cool. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's a slippery slope. But I know we were talking a little bit before we started, and it's been many years, but it's flying by. It's fun. And
Crypto is interesting in the a lot of people that I've talked to had a similar introduction where they can appreciate one aspect to it, but one thing that's beautiful is that the implications for crypto are truly profound and global in what they can do for for humanity and just systems around the world. So I think it's been really gratifying to see it continue to grow and increase in adoption.
Absolutely, yeah. The internet's been looking for money for a long time, and to send value like that through an email basically is just very profound. It's very empowering. There's so many people that just are being just slaughtered by inflation and have really no recourse. They don't have anything to store them. You're not going to have gold coins or that kind of thing. You're going to get robbed. So to be able to stack your wealth with 12 words is just it's amazing.
Yeah, and from the functional aspect too, like you said, being able to send peer-to-peer without having to go through like Western Union or PayPal. It once you've done peer-to-peer electronic money transactions like this, like it's so archaic. You'd never want to go back, right?
I know. I used it for sports betting in 2013. My first Bitcoin I bought off Coinbase was like $100. I sent it to a website, made a bet, won, got it back to my account, and turned it to cash like the same day, which was unheard of back in the day when you know, Poker Stars and those sites, you'd have to wait for a check to come to you from Barbados or Bermuda or some island somewhere, and it would take weeks. And who knows if you're going to get it? So yeah, I was hooked pretty quick.
It's funny you mentioned Butterfly Labs. I remember I was actually going to get involved in the mining, Bitcoin mining scene back in the day when they were, I forget the name of the whatever miner they were going to launch that ended up turning into vaporware. You know, that was years later. It was probably what, like 2015, 26. I don't remember when it was, but basically they had a line of these like new super efficient miners that I don't think they never released or they self-mined on and were never profitable or something.
Yeah, I ordered a 30 gigahash and it looked beat up. I mean, it was scratched and it was obviously used. So yeah, I think we got scammed.
Yeah, so they imploded. Man, it must have been around the 2015, 2016. Maybe it was earlier. I can't remember the dates, but yeah, it's good times. So, well, interesting. So yeah, you were pretty active in the early crypto community with those meetups. And have you maintained that engagement since?
I handed it off in probably 2017-ish, 2018 time. It had grown to be kind of into like a small church. It was like over 100 people coming during the pumps. And I was just jokingly naming the meetings. Next month's meeting is the Bitcoin 8,000 party and the Bitcoin 9, and it was hidden. And so that was funny, and people kept coming, and it just kind of got to be kind of too much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I handed it off, and yeah, there's other meetups that have sprung up recently that I've thought about going to. Just haven't had a chance to.
Cool. Yeah. So you know, I know that you've created some of your cards, you know, and you have a little bit of skills. When did you do any digital art before you got involved with Rare Pepes?
You know, I've been a Photoshop fan since the first time I could download that cracked version. Like, I would say Photoshop 4 or 5, whatever, back over the modem, you know, your 28 modem.
From one of the Ware sites. Yeah,
from one of the Wares or a BBS. I think I did that, you know. And so I knew some basic layers, I knew basic stuff, but mainly it was for photo editing. And so when Mike came into the chat, I was already in part of Counterparty. I'd been introduced to Counterparty late 2014 and been kind of an active member of that. And so I knew how to issue assets. I already had, you know, secured Shawn and Jacksonville and St. Augustine names, because who knows, right? Maybe. And then when Mike came into the chat, he's like, hey, I'm putting Pepe's on the blockchain. And I'm like, get out of here. This is hilarious. And I knew about Satoshi Card. I knew a little bit about Spells of Genesis, having been in Counterparty for a while. And I remember Satoshi Card going for 1 Bitcoin. And so, well, maybe these will go. Maybe he's going to make a video game. Maybe, you know, he's like, no, I'm just making these Pepes. And we just got into it. And so I made Dank Pepe was my first card. And it was really simple. I mean, I borrowed the art, you know, of the Pepe itself. And I took a different weed. My kids and grandkids are gonna be so happy that I made the first weed NFT too, by the way. So
it's really a fun one too, you know.
and I thought, I always liked the word dank when people would describe good, you know, marijuana, and so it's just a cool word. So I was like, yeah, Dank Pepe, and Pepe always has the dankest meme instead of weed. And yeah, it was just fun, and it took off, and I think I sold all of them that day.
Oh, really?
I sold them all. I think I made like $400.
Okay.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, I just made $400 on a meme. Like, this is amazing. So,
oh, that's interesting.
I sold 410 of the 420, I believe. Yeah, right away in the first couple of days.
That's awesome.
So yeah, wish I had held on to some of them. So I think one sold for like 35,000.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know if Skrilla mentioned it, but I think it's his friend that bought it. He bought the exact top, and it just kind of went
Oh
down
no.
from there. But so
Yeah, that's fun. Did you for most of your cards, were you selling through really quickly as you were
you know, I still believe that the better distribution, the more fans you have, the more people
yeah.
that are enjoying it. And that was my ethos at that time. And
Yeah.
there's two other cards I made for charity, Junseth Pepe and Brighton Pepe, Brighton Pepe, which I sold all of them because all the money was going to charity except for one.
Okay.
I even bought the one. So yeah, some of them I've held on to. I think TLC Pepe, I have a bunch still. Shrem Pepe, I have a bunch. So it just depends,
Yeah.
at the time. Yeah,
And
so it was, yeah.
and so let's talk about your second Pepe is BU Pepe. So
Yes. Biggie Pepe is the first collab Pepe, I think, because me and Theo did the art, which you can see it's amazing art done by Paint, MS Paint.
yeah.
All of his early cards were MS Paint, maybe all of them were, I don't know actually, but for sure. And I whipped up the card, and I was a big Bitcoin Uncensored fan. And
Yeah.
long story short, I was kind of their chat room community manager for the podcast, and everybody was in this chat. It was called the Coin Dojo 2.0, which was an offshoot of Coin Dojo, which was an earlier chat, and had kind of shut down, and it grew over to maybe 500-600 people. It was kind of the last chat where everyone in Bitcoin was there. There was core devs, there was a lot of the Twitter people. It was really fun. But once that podcast died, I pulled the plug on it because it was kind of the chat was built by the podcast, and once the podcast died, the chat had to go too. So, but so I was a big fan of BU Pepe, Junseth, and Chris. That scene basically is Junseth kissing Chris DeRose's buttocks on live stream. And so they were like shock jocks. They were basically shock jocks. Like anyone that went on there for an interview, they didn't realize they were about to get decimated. Like they did a number on Perry on Boring, and a lot of other people. I mean, they had a driver for prostitutes. He wasn't really a pimp. He just drove them around. He was like a really nice guy. I don't go in there and beat up anybody or demand money. They just pay me, and I just make sure they get out safe. And they had all kinds of cool guys. We're actually trying to get those back up online somewhere. So
That'd be awesome.
Look forward to those. Yeah, there's some really good ones in there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was what did you guys make that as the when they were pulling the plug on the show, or was that still going on?
No, the part of the reason the show ended is because of Pepe Cash. One of their prime directives on Bitcoin Uncensored was to never take sponsorship. You could run an ad on there, but they would never take a payment for it.
Okay.
So nitrogensports.eu made ads. I made an ad for the Coin Dojo. There was just fun, goofy ads. But Junseth had bought some Rare Pepes, and they had been talking about Pepes on there. There was even a Pepe challenge, challenging the listeners to get on radio stations, get on TV, and tell people that you love Pepes. And they were kind of sponsoring the project in a way. And then all of a sudden, Mike airdropped Pepe Cash to anyone who held his cards. And so then all of a sudden now Josh has received Pepe Cash. He's been paid. And so he polled everybody, said, hey, like, what do I do with this? So I sell it. What? I'm gonna just sell it. He sold all of it, and he like redid his kitchen or something. And he made like just something. It wasn't a lot, but he just wanted to be open and transparent about it. But that eventually kind of fractured them because being Bitcoin maximalists, they were kind of in this weird thing. I don't know. It's a long story, but basically Pepe's played an integral role in them kind of breaking up. And so there's cards that talk about the BU breakup, and they've got the Pepe Cash symbol, and they're crying. And so yeah, it's cool. It's funny.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, well, that's too bad. Your next card is TLC Pepe, which I'm assuming is just a play on the wasn't there a music group back then, TLC?
No. Excuse me. Tony Lane Casarelli She was the CEO of Cointelegraph,
Okay.
which I believe was a Russian company that also owned coinmarketcap.com. This might be totally incorrect, but at the time that was what people understood. And she was a Bitcoin personality, very vibrant, very like kind of like a performer, you know, like there's technical difficulties at the conference, and she would just sing, you know, just to kind of buy the time before they, you know, while they fix stuff. She's an attractive lady, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to make a card of her. And so yeah, I took a cool black and white shot that she had, I think, and turned her into a Pepe.
Peppa
And
Fighter.
later, yeah, Pepe Fighter. And later on, she did. She sent a video. She recorded the video just to whoever made the card. She didn't know it was me, and someone sent me the video, and then I got in touch with her, and she loved it. And she passed away unexpectedly early 2020, and her family and friends have messaged me on Twitter to like let me know how much, you know, the card meant to her. And so it's just one of those cool stories about art that you don't know how it's going to affect people. And so it's cool to be a part of that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's nice when it, you know, it must be gratifying to make a, you know, to make a real world contribution. You know, I mean, so many things that we create through our like our normal day jobs are just kind of like, you know, work product or whatever. Yeah, exactly. That like just really kind of disappears essentially immediately, right? Or, you know, within a few years. So that's cool. And you said that the Joseph Pepe was for charity.
Yeah, Joseph Pepe and Brighton Pepe were two cards I made. One was for each post of Bitcoin Uncensored, and I asked them, I was going to do it for charity, and Josh told me he said donate it to for anal cancer, which I did. So I sold all of them, and I think Joseph Pepe sold for about $150, and then the project had gotten more traction, and then Brighton Pepe sold for maybe about $400 or $500. So yeah, all of it got sent to for that research. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And so one of your next card is Scarface Pepe, which is a fun one.
Yes, one of my favorite movies, and I just thought it'd be kind of cool to pepify him as well.
Yeah, and it looks like the is 83 when Scarface came out. Is that why the supply is? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
Cool. Yeah, that's fun. And your next one is like verified Pepe. So
Roger Ver. Yes.
Okay.
Have you heard of Roger Ver, Bitcoin Jesus?
Yeah, I know who Roger Ver is, but I don't know like this particular moment in history. I know I'm more familiar with them for the like his well, I know he was a big evangelist early on, but I read more about him as like during that whole Bitcoin Cash split thing.
So. Yeah, he became the champion of. He just wanted to give away his Bitcoin apparently, so that's what he did. But he played a vital role, I guess, in early Bitcoin adoption with his website, Memory Dealers, and he accepted Bitcoin and had a lot of Bitcoin. And so Mt. Gox was having issues in 2013, 2014, and he famously made this video. And it's almost like there's someone with a gun like on the other side of the camera, because he's like talking to the camera that Mt. Gox, I've toured the facility and everything is really good and everything seems up, and they have all the Bitcoins and everything's good. Like it just seemed totally paid for. And so he verified that the funds were there. So verified Pepe. And that was just a highly used image of him sitting on a couch at a conference, and he's speaking at the microphone and everything. So
no, I wasn't aware of that incident, but I was aware of like the Memory Dealers. I mean, I think that was one of the first businesses that accepted Bitcoin back in the day.
Yeah, he was big. Yeah, I actually drove all the way to Miami one time because I thought he was going to be at the meetup, but he was only remotely video conferencing in. So I did at least get to say hi to him and ask him a question. But yeah, I mean, until he went Bitcoin Cash, I was, a big fan of his.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely, the community, like for his early efforts, does owe him, owe him a lot for being so enthusiastic and
Yeah.
prolific in shilling Bitcoin.
Absolutely.
So, but I didn't know that he did that essentially hostage video for Mount Gox, which then
I'll send you a link to it. It's just very
okay.
uncomfortable watching it because Mount Gox is about to implode. They were embezzling. I mean, Mark Capellas got in trouble. So yeah, it's the cards have to have some kind of sarcasm to them, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, and we're in 2022 right now, and I've heard through some friends that still had funds that were locked up whenever the exchange went under, that they're just now trying to finish up some sort of partial settlement for the holders. I mean, that really rocked the Bitcoin world. I'm glad. Again, there's a maxim that not your keys, not your coins, and that's just one of the bigger examples of why you need to, like, any meaningful amount of coins, you have to have them on your own wallet. So
absolutely.
Well,
that's got to be your own bank.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point, right?
Yep.
So, well, that's a fun story. And your next one is Biggie Pepe.
Biggie Pepe is a good one. The interesting backstory is that was going to be the first music NFT, and I had met up with Skrilla at that point, and I said, "Dude, you're a DJ, man. Make a Biggie mix, and I will do the art." And I didn't know that he was an actual good sketch artist too. Like I was thinking, I didn't know. We didn't know that at that point, and so he made a really good mix, and I was going to try to hide a QR code in the image, and that was against the rules. And being a Rare Pepe scientist, I'm one of the helpers and kind of helping curate, or at least helping Mike in some ways. Yeah, they wouldn't let me do it. And so all I had to do was go into the asset description and put a link to the SoundCloud, but I was so dumb and I didn't know how to do all that stuff. So, but yeah, it's Biggie. I'm a big fan of his. And so, yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. Fun times.
Yeah. So when did you get involved with helping curate, just doing the duties?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yeah. Basically day one, Mike comes in the chat. We jump into his chat, which is the current chat still. And I was one of the first few people in, and I went on Counter Wallet, which was the wallet we had to use back then. And I bought one Rare Pepe for a 1.5 XCP. And I came back in the chat. I'm like, I just scammed myself out of that. That was, I don't know what I'm doing here. But by the end of the day, I think there was like 100, 200 people that come into this chat, and I recognized some of the people, and I was like, man, this is really kind of taken off. Like, this is what viral looks like online, so I went back and bought a bunch more. But I also saw Theo Goodman in the chat, and I had spoken with him about sports betting using TeamSpeak, which was part of the Whale Club chat. So me and him joked, we made a parody of the Bitcoin Foundation, which was collapsing at that time. I said, look, let's make the Rare Pepe Foundation, and we'll help Mike. We'll be like the third party, like neutral people. And he threw up a website. I got the domain, and we got it up there, and was like, we're gonna form the Rare Pepe Foundation. Well, Theo started a chat for that, invited Mike, and Mike brought his friend Wade, who was an original scientist as well, but he kind of left early. And then now we're like, we need a dev. We need someone to like build a website like with wallet capabilities. And the only one I knew was Dan Anderson, Drop Lister. So we brought him into the chat. I'm like, hey, we need you, man. We're gonna put Pepe as the blockchain. Mike's got these cards. We're all gonna be able to make them. Do you want to be like the lead dev for us? He's like, y'all are too rare for me. I think that's what he said, and he just left the chat. He has a screenshot. I think he turned it NFT. Like, man, he could have done. And then very quickly, Joe and John Villar jumped in, and that was pretty much pretty much it for a while, for a few months. And then J-Dog, who was the counterparty guy carrying the torch for years, after the founders had left, he kind of like picked it up and kept it going. So after a while, he finally joined us as well. So yeah, it just kind of took off from there. So there's only 5 of us left. Later on, we actually recruited Bench towards like the last month of the project. We had just kind of got wore out from, Mike definitely got wore out. I think he did at least the first 1,000 cards himself. Like we'd get the DMs, would look at them, make sure they're locked, make sure they're not divisible, check the art out. He would come in and, hey, what do you guys think about this? Is this okay? Is this too risque? We were part of it, but he was doing the heavy lifting, and he was like, I'm done. And we paused at 1,000 cards, and I thought we were done. And I even made my first mosaic with the first 1,000 cards, thinking, well, I was waiting for us to be done to do this. And John Villar at that point started to create a bot that would do all of like the messy work. The bot would look to make sure the Pepe cache was burned, because you had to sacrifice amount of Pepe cache that we kind of scaled depending on how much we thought it was worth. It was like 5,000 or 2,000 Pepe cache. I can't remember now. And then we would look at the art, and John had a bot where we all got to rate the image, and it happened all inside Telegram. So
oh, cool.
It was really cool. Yeah. So it's been fun to be there right from the beginning. And yeah, we still chat in our little Rare Pepe scientist chat. With John Villar passing, there's only 5 of us now. Yeah, it's a good group of guys for sure. It's pretty rare that you can be in a chat for that long with people and still not hate each other yet. It's not perfect. It's like a family, there's little spats, but it's good times.
So did you guys generally come on, like try and come to a consensus, or would Mike like unilaterally decide on most of those, or how did that work for?
Once John created the bot, it was literally a majority wins. Okay. Joe was the ultimate host of the images, so he always kind of had to check on stuff as well. So anything that was borderline not safe for work, Joe would have, kind of final say, because he's hosting Rare Pepe Wallet, with all the images. So, but yeah, no, it was I think it was about the last 700 we had the bot. I don't know exactly when, but it was pretty close to that time.
Yeah, which that makes sense, because early on there were a handful of divisible cards that snuck through because of the, again, it's a lot of stuff to check for every single submission. So,
oh, yeah, there's a bunch that slipped through. That was one thing we didn't like about other collections. I think they just didn't know the protocol at that point. So like FD card, Satoshi card are all divisible, and so it makes it a little bit harder to get a whole card, because you got pieces everywhere. Yeah, totally.
And one other thing, I like the change that was made early on to have a reasonable minimum issuance, because while it's cool and legendary to have those like really low issuance cards, that like as a collector, it makes it, nearly impossible to acquire, because they're so valuable.
Yeah, no doubt. We instituted that rule because people were doing 20s and 30s, and it just was getting to be too much. In fact, I was really pissed when Mike allowed a one of one in Series 1. Like only one person can own all of Series 1 cards.
I know, right?
And technically, I think that would be one of the first NFTs, probably, at least crypto art, collectible one of one. So that's very significant.
It is, yeah. It is kind of a shame that the lower issuance ones kind of prevent. And now we have some of the cards that were completely burned or whatever too. But no one can ever have a full set because of those one of ones. That's In fact, so we're in the middle of a little bit of a bear, but like last year we had a Pepinopolis, which is a one of one, sold for, I think it was over $2 million at auction.
I think it was 2 or 3. It might have been 3.
Yeah, it might have been 3. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Maybe it shows my hype, but I still think big picture, that is a bargain for a one of one Rare Pepe, but it is a tremendous amount of money too.
It is for sure. Yeah, Token
So
Angels did a great job with that auction,
yeah,
assembling those three. It's really good. He did a really good job.
yeah, it's cool. Um, I my claim to fame, or my connection with Token Angel is it's very tenuous, but it's there. When I bought my Punk in January of last year, I actually bought it from him. I didn't
Oh
know at the
wow.
time, but yeah, very cool. So
Yeah,
he made 8
he,
ETH or whatever off me on that one. So,
he definitely has his finger on the pulse of everything. So it's
oh, totally.
very
I mean,
cool. Yeah.
he was definitely way ahead of the curve on that. So, and same thing with Pepe's too. He really understands the scene and the significance too. So,
Yeah, internet culture is interesting. I mean, a really good example of someone not really understanding it was Matt Fury.
yeah,
Because he ended up making his Pepe, which we were very happy about, but he's actually never come into the chat and just hung out. Maybe he's in there. I mean, maybe he's a non in there. I don't know. But yeah,
I
I think
mean,
just all the stuff that surrounded it, the different, I don't know, don't want to get too deep into it, but
I
yeah, I
was
think
really
it's,
disappointed
yeah.
in how that played out too. As a like, I know you have much more at stake being a scientist and OG, but even myself as just a more of an outsider or late adopter collector, I thought it was really a shame that 500 cards were saved for him, and it was a burn down to 100, and then they weren't for sale. They were given to his
Well, he sold one.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yes,
He sold one for 150 ETH, I think.
Yeah,
But the other 99 got sent to the DAO, his Pepe
yeah,
DAO. Yeah.
which when I saw the announcement of the auction of that one, what the way I interpreted it based on reading the announcement is, I thought what they were doing is a very sophisticated way of artificially inflating the value of the assets that the DAO would hold by only selling one card and then having the rest locked. They would artificially have a higher value market cap that they could borrow or lend against, or however, right? But then when they distributed those cards to members of that DAO, there's a lawsuit. I think the lawsuit's still going on, right?
I heard about the lawsuit.
I
I
haven't
don't know how
followed it.
much. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
how. I mean, I've seen some of the cards out there now. So,
So the person who bought the one card at auction is suing, um, basically for misrepresentation, essentially, because again, I thought it at the time, and this is his claim, is that it was represented that no more of the cards would be distributed or sold, but then they ended up being distributed. But I thought it was
it's
also a shame
unfortunate.
I thought it was a shame too, because collectors didn't have the chance to get a hold of like such a historic card after the burn down, and then he distributed it privately, and like the aftermarket prices were
Or send
insane.
one to Joe. I mean, Joe
Yeah,
was the one
exactly.
who really worked with his cousin.
Mhm.
Yeah, so yeah, it's unfortunate, but
I
what
mean,
can you do?
or all of the scientists, really, right? So
Yeah, at least Joe. I mean, Joe really tried to early on. Did you see the documentary?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, where he's out in the Pacific Northwest, and he's at gosh, his name slipped in my mind, but he's got the Pepe Cash yacht.
Yeah.
There was actually an interview. They didn't make the documentary, but Joe tried to talk with Matt, and you'd have to talk to Joe for the details of it, but didn't go well. So that was when we were still taking submissions too. So it was pretty early on.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like you. I think that's kind of a disappointing chapter in how that was all handled. I guess the only other thing I would say is I'm also a little bit. I don't really like the way that now Matt Fury is releasing his own NFTs that are also called Rare Pepes too. It's like,
Hey, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, right? So he saw what came of it, and it's a business too. Art's a business, so Yeah, I like the animations though; they're really cool.
Yeah,
and
they are.
I kind of wonder if he does all of it, because it's
So
different
that
style from his art. I have all of his book, a lot of his books now. So
I don't think it's all his art. From what I looked into back when they were doing the pegs, it sounded like maybe not for the pegs, but it sounded like for some of this other stuff, he was involving more people than himself for the art. So
yeah, the pegs definitely look like his stuff.
yeah, they do. But anyways, it's just another interesting chapter in Pepe history.
Yeah. Well, once he did that card, though, it really put the stamp of approval on it.
Yeah.
You know, so that really meant a lot to everyone that participated in that. You know, we always wondered, like, is he gonna be pissed? Are we gonna get sued like Alex Jones? But luckily we kept everything fairly safe for work, and so it worked out.
Well, and that's another part I didn't even think to bring up. He did actually, didn't he DMCA a collection on OpenSea last year or two?
Yeah, I think so. I think even Twerky Pepe got a cease and desist too. I don't know if you've seen
Okay.
Twerky Pepe, where it's like looks almost like a toad. And he's got So
no, interesting. I didn't hear about that one, but
yeah, I think he got one, but he like lives in like Romania or Africa or something, and they're like, don't worry, like they're not going to come. He kind of asked around, like, what do I do? Do I get a lawyer? I don't have the money to fight this. And he just, I don't think they pursued it. So
okay.
but
No, interesting. Yeah, definitely good times. Well, on a lighter note, your next card is the FSM, which stands for the Flying Spaghetti Monster, Pepe, right?
Yes, I'm a firm believer in the Flying Spaghetti Monster and his noodly appendages, and that's a joint card with Django Unchained. Me and him worked on that. I just did the Pepe part, and I turned the hand green and did some shading and my little bit of Pepe skills that I had, and he did the rest of the card, which I really like. It has that kind of icon look to it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's really cool. Touched by his noodly appendage, right?
Yes, ramen. Power is ramen, I think. I don't have any of these cards in front of me. I should probably have them up so I could see them.
Yeah, it says ramen. So
yes, it's funny.
And one of the cards that's that you put out is Pepe Rare, which is, I think, one of the coolest Nakamoto references in the collection.
Thanks. Yeah, that was done by an artist named Mark Watanabe, who's a Brazilian of Japanese descent. And I found him through 99 Designs. I did a big contest on there, and his skills he just crushed the competition. And I'm like, hey, I really want to make an animated GIF. What do you think about that? And he whipped up this Bitcoin coin spinning around. I'm like, man, this is what I want. I want Dorian Nakamoto. I want the Bitcoin logo like in front, holding, and have it hovering over his hand, and just I wanted the counterparty letters falling in the back, and it came out good. So and I had actually registered the asset name Rare Pepe, and it was going to be 30 issuance, and I locked it, thinking I'm good. But then we had changed the rules; so it had to be 100 assets. So yet again, first was my QR code for my music NFT that woulda, coulda, shoulda, and then now I'm trying to say, hey, I registered the asset. I was already going to make this card. It took longer for the art. They're like, nope. So then I was like, what am I going to name it? So I found Pepe Rare and did that. I minted 100, but then I burnt 70.
Okay.
And so that was one way people got around the rules. And so, yeah, it was a good card.
Yeah, that's a great looking card. So it's one that's definitely striking and kind of pulls you in.
It's made the Bitcoin pump video. If you look up that video, we got to pump it up. That song, it shows up in the bottom corner. So
no way.
Yeah, I sent that to Mark. He's like, I love it. And so awesome. then he made the fake Rare too of it, and he still had the PSD file and Photoshop file, so it didn't take him long to do that one.
Oh, cool. Did you save most of your art files for your Pepe?
Yeah. Oh yeah. My Photoshop still. Yeah, I've got all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
In
cool.
fact, I made a Chatelet. I don't know if you know about that collection, but I made a
Hmm.
dank Chatelet.
Hmm.
That's Mike and Space's thing. And so I just brought up the files and switched a few things out. So
Oh, that's cool that
yeah.
you're able to keep all those old, all those old assets around. Definitely makes
Hmm.
it easier to, like you said, make new remixes and stuff like that.
Definitely.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
your next Pepe is Shrimp Pepe, which is
Charlie yes.
yeah.
Joe said that's my greatest work. And it's yeah, so it's I actually was communicating with Charlie Shrem at the time, and he was out of prison at this point. And the joke on Bitcoin Uncensored was that when you go into prison, you survive on basic income. Like they give you exactly just what you need to live. And so he thrives on basic income. And Charlie's only request was to make it the hairiest Pepe ever. And I go, because he's like super hairy, like he has to shave like, under his, So I was like, all right, like let me find the hairiest monkey and turn him into shrimp. So that was like the most popular picture of him I could find. It's kind of like him in a street. I think he's walking with some people, and it's like a flash photography.
Mhm.
And then the background is Bit Instant, which was his company that
Got rated.
yeah. So that was actually hard to find. That logo is like white. I couldn't find it anywhere, like high res.
Really?
So probably should
Yeah,
have asked him for it.
interesting. Yeah, it's sad to see, uh, the people that got prosecuted for that kind of stuff back in the day. So
Yeah, it seems like every frontier, any bleeding edge technology, there's always be one person that they try to make an example of, and he was that guy. I mean, and Winklevi's were kind of with him, and they kind of abandoned him. Like, if you go back and read all the story and stuff, yeah. So that's why I put the Winklevi in there too. But yeah,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
doing
and
good now.
yeah, I mean, and for a similar, I also feel bad for Ross Ulbricht too. He
Yes.
was definitely made an example out of. So
Yeah. Man, all the murder charges are just completely like
yeah,
entrapment. I mean, the federal
it's just
officers have gone to prison that were investigating him. I mean, if
yeah,
there's not a case that needs to be redone or pardoned, it's his. I mean, he sold mushrooms. That was the worst thing he did. He physically grew mushrooms and sold. He was the first purveyor on the Silk Road, and the amount of harm reduction that guy did and it's still happening. The darknet markets are saving people's lives. It's getting the money out of the gangs. Prohibition is the worst thing you can do to any market, because now everything condenses down to the lowest. Fentanyl patches. If they're light,
yeah,
they're small. You get a lot of high from it, and the people are dying left and right. 100,000 people died. But if you could source good opium, maybe you wouldn't go down. I don't know. It's tough.
obviously
Yeah, it's tough.
there's other forces at work than public good, basically, at
Right.
play. And to your point, when I learned the level uh, of government malfeasance in that case, they anyone who's hearing this should like owes it to
It's
themselves
mind blowing.
if they're curious to look into it. Like if you think that there's a like a legit justice system, this is a case that proves otherwise. The we have in the U.S. this whole concept of like a chain of custody for as evidence, and you have to be able to, especially for computer crimes, you have to be able to authoritatively prove that someone did something before you introduce that as evidence. And it later came out that there were other people that had administrative privileges to Silk Road other than Ross at the time. They're trying to attribute all these bogus charges to him. I mean, this is, and like you said, there are several agents that went to jail over their actions in this case. It's a trap.
And he's so young too. Wasn't he like
Yeah.
22,
Yeah,
23
he
or
was in his
something? I
early
mean,
20s.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And he
it's
was
horrible.
you could literally go out and shoot someone in the face and get a shorter prison
Yep.
sentence than what he got. He got 2 consecutive life sentences plus 40 years or something like that. I mean, something crazy. They made an example out of him.
Yeah. And you see his mom at all the events too. And it's hard. It's hard to even think about it being stuck in a cage for your whole life, basically your whole adult life. It's horrible.
And also for his family members to know the links of the injustice and to try and fight against that with the system. I mean, I feel bad for Lynn and for Rob. I mean, it's a bad situation all around.
Yeah, I mean, I put him right up there with Snowden. These guys are two patriots that were fighting for freedom, you know. So they need pardons at this point, fortunately.
I have the utmost respect for Snowden and Assange too for his efforts for the integrity of and basically human rights around the world, regardless of the government that you happen to fall under or whatnot. So
it's tough.
I mean, it is. And Bitcoin played a minor role for that story with WikiLeaks. It proved the necessity early on for uncensorable payments when every payment processor in the world was forced to drop WikiLeaks, and the only way you could donate to them was with crypto back in the day. So
I do remember that. I remember Satoshi being very upset about that in the Bitcoin talk forums because he thought it was going to bring bad attention to his young project.
That's
what it's here for.
Yeah, there's some there's more to Bitcoin and crypto than number go up. So
oh yeah.
So so segueing back to your next card, didn't mean to go down a little dark rabbit hole.
There's some good Assange Pepe cards too. I FOMO'd into one of them. I have a lot of one of them. I can't remember which one. There's a couple.
I have one of them. I don't have the other one. I have
I'll send you the other one. Yeah.
Okay. I don't have the one that says Operation Hot Pocket on it, whichever one that is.
Okay. I'll have to look and see which one I have.
But it's
unfortunate times for him too. Oof.
Exactly. It's ultimately with Snowden, I also feel like he is and it's interesting, I run into people my age and younger. There's a lot of people who do appreciate him as a role model in terms of standing up for the right thing in regardless of the personal consequences. I mean, it took a lot of bravery to do what he did. Tremendous.
Absolutely.
So
he's a true netizen. He's a true netizen. Like, back in the 90s, there was that Declaration of Independence of the Internet. I can't think of the author right now, but it's a great piece. I think I saw it in Wired or somewhere. And I was like 100%, I'm 110%. We're all, if the internet can bring people together like that, it's powerful and it's not going to be stopped. And, you've seen so much more information just freeing people around the world. It's hard to, the North Koreas and the Chinas are fading, so.
Ultimately, that's one of the things I think is going to happen with, and one of the things I want to see happen is the increased awareness about the nature of our monetary system and how all these systems work. There's I don't believe that with any population that truly understood how things work now would accept it as is. So I think it's a matter of time. We're going to see some societal shifts. I don't know how it'll play out, but I think it's coming. So
yeah, I don't have so much of a fatalistic mindset of the dollar. I think the dollar hegemony is only strengthened by Bitcoin and crypto because it lets it's like a lifeline to all these other countries that are being hurt even more. I mean, the Federal Reserve's done a pretty good job of keeping around 2% inflation with our money. It's still inflating it away, your value. Obviously,
Shawn, come on, you don't actually believe in the the inflation numbers that they put out, right?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I'm just saying like buying power. If you take, I think what was it like? If you had $100 worth of gold in 1912 or whatever. There's,
Yeah.
I mean, there, yeah, of course, yeah. The numbers are completely crazy. I mean, look at college, look at your medical bills, look at pharmaceuticals.
What's
The stuff that we really need is going way up.
what's funny is there's a guy who, an economist who, um, they had a measurement for inflation for years, going back to the 80s, and they started to change the way they measured inflation in strategically in order to misrepresent inflation, so they could over time shortchange the benefits of quote unquote social programs like Social Security and whatnot, and basically rob them over time. There's a guy, he runs a website called Shadow Stats, John Williams. And, if you measure inflation using the original CPI metric going back to, I think it was the 80s, maybe early 90s, we've had double digit inflation for years,
Yeah.
according to the government's own original metrics.
Well, here, yeah, I mean, the thing about currencies is you just want to be slightly more hard than the other ones. So
Yeah.
yes, we're not perfect, but people still like the dollar, and we also have good police force that will drop into any number of countries at any moment to help you appreciate the dollar's value.
Well, it's funny that we talk about this right now, because we're finally starting to see a erosion of the dollar standard for international trade. One thing that's propped up the value for years and years is the petrodollar system, and the dollar's use as a reserve currency in the settlement of international trade. And what we've seen, an acceleration in the last year, is countries are now dropping dollar denomination for bilateral trade. So we have Iran, Russia, I believe China, and some of the other BRICS nations. That just this year, it doesn't make Western press, but they've started to agree to conduct their trade in non-dollar terms. So whether it be yuan or ruble or whatnot. The same thing for Russia is now only accepting rubles for natural gas and other resources. So it's I think we'll see the dominance of the dollar in international trade continue to go down, but like I said, it's not going to go away overnight. But the other big news though is that I believe it was Russia, and it might have been Iran as well. They announced that they are willing to accept cryptocurrency to facilitate international commodity payments. So it's huge news, right?
Yeah, no, I saw that. I hope it's true. A lot of these could be saber rattling or pandering, but yeah, I think instant settlement, I think it's with Lightning, I think you never know what could happen. If Russia just said we're going full Bitcoin, what would that do? Would America ban it? Like it's like, we want you to adopt it, but don't do it like hardcore. Like just use a little bit, just ease into it. But again, even with them switching to rubles or Chinese renminbi, if they're still inflating it faster than we are, then we're still harder. So I think, but it is very interesting. Things are changing, and so I just wish people in America would just enjoy what we've kind of earned. Like let's just chill and enjoy it. We're at the, this might not last maybe another 40 years. Let's just have a good time instead we're fighting over, crap. So anyway.
Yeah, it's I kind of have followed economic stuff for years, and it's definitely an interesting time to in terms of like all the things that are playing out. I can't make any predictions, but other than I do think that crypto is going to continue to play a more important role. I mean, like to your point too, I mean, there's no reason, like especially like with legacy, like payments with Bitcoin, on the main chain, for if you're dealing with, 50 or 100 million or like these like really big transactions, Bitcoin is perfect for that because of the security of the network and the, hey, if it takes 20 minutes to settle, right, and have a couple confirmations, no big deal. So I don't know, this is interesting. So it'll be fun to see how it plays out.
Well, it's only going to keep getting more adoption over time.
Yeah.
And, this volatility is indication of that we're still in price discovery mode. We don't know what each Bitcoin is worth. Still, I mean, eventually it will be stable. It'll be truly the first stable coin. It's just what that level is, 1 million or 10 million or whatever it's going to be. It'll eventually be that first stable coin for the internet, which is going to be tremendous.
Yeah. I mean, again, and it's hard to like even discuss it with a fiat value attached to it, but I like whatever it's going to end up trading at is going to be, I think, very valuable. I think we can all probably agree on that, right?
Yep.
So
that's why we keep our Pepes on Bitcoin.
Exactly.
The strongest chain.
And I started because of scarcity, I used Lightning Network for the first time several months ago, and Lightning is really, really cool.
It's gotten a lot better. Yeah, it's getting there. It really is.
Yeah,
I used it a few years back to buy the stickers off Blockstream or some swag, and I used a wallet that Peter McCormick recommended. It was he has that podcast, What Bitcoin Did, and then they got raided, the wallet service that he promoted on there. So I lost like $2.50 or something. Anyway, it happens.
Ironically, like one thing I think is like it's kind of like a bullish slash like I don't know, something I'm a little bit mixed about is I think ultimately having Lightning wallets out there is going to increase the amount of Bitcoin that becomes lost over time, because like I've got like a Lightning wallet on my phone that I have like similar, like a few bucks worth of Bitcoin, and because people because like you can be like you don't have to care as much about the amount. Like I can see a lot more of these small accounts being lost over time, and that further deflating the supply of Bitcoin.
True.
But
it's a good maxi test too. If you're about to split the bill and one goes, do you take Lightning Network? You're like, I think I have it on my phone. Oh crap, that wallet, that app got deleted because I hadn't used it in 2 months. You have space saving, and I'll get it downloaded in a minute. And you can send. And he's like, no, I'll give you Bitcoin. It's okay, regular Bitcoin. So,
yeah, good times. So we talked about. We haven't talked about Winston Pepe.
Yeah, Winston Pepe. I had a Dr. Kosher was one of my favorite teachers in high school, and he did this great Winston Churchill impersonation. I think he even brought a hat in and had this big cigar that he wasn't, and he did one of his famous speeches, and just kind of stuck with me. And I thought, let's make a Pepe. Let's turn him into a Pepe. So
it ended up looking pretty good.
Yeah.
I think. Plus you've got the nice detail with the Pepe pin on there too.
Yes. Yeah, I made it fuzzy and kind of old looking, kind of dusty, but yeah, it's good. And then the lines below him are a Pepified version of his famous. He used to do these radio announcements, and looking back, they didn't really think they were going to get invaded, but he wanted to instill that sense of urgency that they were really going to get invaded. So he's like, we'll fight them in the streets, we'll fight them wherever, so I put that in there and for the Pepes. Yeah,
definitely a good one. And so 1965, Thanks. What's the significance of that? Is that when he passed?
Yeah, that's when he died.
Okay, I didn't know that. So the next one is we already talked about Brighton Pepe.
So Krista Rose.
Yeah, so let's talk about Pepe Max AF. That's a good one too.
That's another Mark Watanabe, that commissioned artist. I did the background for it, but he made a Pepe Cash kind of coin spinning.
Okay.
And I threw that on a card.
Yeah, I would definitely need help creating a GIF too. So he did a good job on that. That looks cool.
Yep.
And So your next one is Boys to Pepe, which obviously is a play on that Boys to Men, right?
Voice to Man, yeah, and that's Skrilla Ventura's work. That's Rare
Mhm.
Skrilla's. I commissioned that. So early on, I bought. So I on my wall over here, I've got his PWA
Uh-huh.
original artwork. I sent him a million Pepe cash,
Mhm.
and he sent me that in the mail.
Mhm.
And I was like, loved it. So then Boys to Men was like my favorite group back
Mhm.
in the day. So like, hey, could you make a Boys to Pepe one? He's like, yeah, I'll do it. And he picked out the image that he wanted to use with the kind of the sweater vest and
Uh-huh.
everything. And so I have that on my wall too.
Oh, that's so you have the original art for the Boys to
Yeah,
Pepe
let me
as
grab
well.
it. Yeah, let me grab it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I've got two.
Oh yeah, that's sick, man.
Yeah, it's big. He used a whole
Uh-huh.
8x11 paper. And then
Yeah, it looks way better in person. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's good stuff.
that's
And that's
dope, man.
yeah, 1 million Pepe cash. I think it might be the first meme paid with meme cash.
Yeah,
So
that might be one of the first physical sales
sales.
with Pepe Cash too,
It
right?
was pretty early. So yeah, it might be. And I videotaped when I opened it because I was like, this is gonna be cool. So I
Yeah,
actually have the video of so yeah.
that's awesome. I mean, and stuff like that. I mean, you never sell because I mean, it's priceless, at least to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah,
Jeff does
and
good work. I'm holding on to his stuff for sure.
yeah, I love some of the artwork that Skrilla has come out with. It's like really iconic. One of my favorites
Yeah.
too is I'm a little bit heartbroken about the rarity and how two of them appear to be in locked wallets. Is the Ric Flair Pepe, man? That is super sick.
Yes. I wish I'd gotten one of those early. Those are probably impossible to get now.
Yeah, I looked it up a few months ago, and there it was an issuance of three, and I think one of like the I think someone like Need Money or one of those whales has it that I mean it's just never going to be for sale. And the other two, I looked up went to a wallet that hasn't moved in years, so
Hmm.
you know, doesn't look good.
Yep. You never know. Those old wallets can come back though.
That's true. Yeah, I mean you never know. Um, your last of the OG rares is Epine Pepe, which is a funny one.
That's actually John Villar's card. He
Is it?
yeah, it's his art. It's a play off of there was another counterparty project that was they did like an ICO, but it was like for jokes. So if you sent them a joke, they would send you whatever their Pepe Cash was. I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
And you could submit, they would submit cards. I don't remember. They did a bunch of cards and they were all penis joke,
Yeah.
punchline jokes, right?
Mhm.
But they read all the jokes on a live stream. So it was like a 4-hour live stream of just them reading the jokes. And some
Oh
of them were
God,
horrible, but your
that
joke was
sounds.
going to get read. And my joke did not go well. But I got and we just did an homage, to kind of celebrate that counterparty project. And we thought it was kind of funny.
That's funny. I mean, that sounds kind of excruciating though to sit through a 4 hour.
Well, you had to wait for your
4 hour.
joke. You had to
Yeah,
watch,
exactly.
see if my joke's going to hit or not. It flopped.
That's cool. Um, and so I know you have a fake rare as well.
Mhm.
Did you use the reuse the original artwork for your fake Pepe rare?
It is. It pretty much is. He just kind of messed it up and made it look fake. And it's
Mhm.
basically it's obviously Pepe Rare, but it's also has the fake as, I think it's
Mhm.
fake ASF
Mhm.
card as well.
Mhm. Yeah, that's cool.
Or what? Yeah. What's the first card on fake rares again? I'm drawing a
So
blank
they
on the,
with fake rares they have gosh, let me pull up the listing. So they have the series 0, but I don't think we want to count that.
maybe series 1.
Yeah,
No, the
series,
Fakamoto.
yeah,
Fakamoto card. If you look at the Fakamoto, that's where
yeah. Mhm.
it gets the
Yeah, Yeah, and man, the
Since
Sakamoto's.
Pepe Rare was an homage to Rare Pepe, fake Rare Pepe Rare is a homage to Fakamoto card. So
Yeah, and so I mean, I know obviously an OG with the OG Rare Pepes. What were your thoughts about the about fake rares when those came on the scene?
I thought it was a little, the timing was a little interesting, but like, NFTs were hot. This is the perfect time to launch it. And we kind of always figured there would be maybe down the road. So it was not something that we wanted to be a part of really, because we kind of did it, and but we support them, and they're doing good. We just have strict rules about our chat that you can't push fake rares, because then the whole chat would become filled with everyone's collection and you would never be able to chat. So we kind of still are pretty strict about that. But
Well,
no,
that's
I think
fair.
it's great. I think it's great. Like what they've done, they had Ghostface Killer come in and inspire a series. They've had Matt Cain now is coming to a card. I mean, there's some really big artists now coming on to fake rares, which is just awesome to see. And I wish them a lot of success, and I'm happy to help it, in any way I can.
Yeah, I've kind of enjoyed seeing it evolve too. They've got such a wide, kind of like OG rares. They've developed a really wide variety of artists and art styles that are you have like kind of fun low effort ones that are all the way up to like
Pepinardo.
Say what?
Pepinardo.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, is Pepinardo stuff, which is like really extraordinary.
Legit,
I mean,
Renaissance. Like,
yeah,
the guy can do hands. Like, have you ever tried to draw your own hand? Even just do the outline of your own hand. It's impossible. It looks worse than any cartoon you've ever seen when you try to do it. And the guy just nails it.
Yeah, and
he's got a gift for sure.
Yeah, it's incredible. I have a lot of respect for artists that can do this stuff, because to a non-talented person like myself, it's like magic.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so just a tremendous variety and a lot of really cool artwork being put out. So I think it's really interesting too, how they decided to kind of gamify or use that fake ASF as kind of a token to limit the collection size too, which I'm sure is kind of a relief to to whoever's running, the current scientists. So they have at least a cap, because I would imagine it would be it would probably take a toll having to judge.
They've got the fake commons, which you actually burn. I think you have to burn Pepe cash for that. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
That could be technically unlimited. But yeah, I forgot how many fake ASFs there are, but I want to say like 1,000 or 2,000, somewhere in there.
It started with about in the neighborhood of 2,000, and it looks like right now it's down to 1,552. So it's we've probably, I mean, at this rate, we've got probably 2 or 3 more years. I mean, depending on how quickly they burn through them.
Yeah, the OG one was 18 months.
Oh, really?
We took a couple of breaks too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of curious on because I haven't, other than just seeing them appear, I hadn't seen any discussion about how long and whatnot for the fake commons too. So I'm not really sure what the intention is there, if that's going to just go on forever, or if they're going to play it by ear and cap it like they did with OG rares, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out too.
Yeah, I mean, after a while, we just felt like with Rare Pepes that it started to jump the shark. The reference, we're fond. They tried to make a Fonzie series after Happy Days, and he was trying to jump a shark.
Yeah,
and it was kind of like then there was like there's 3 Biggie Pepes. There's it's just kind of like we felt like everything had been done. And I know the real artists that could do amazing things were unhappy that we closed it, but it was just kind of just time. And so I think it actually worked out pretty well to do it that way. Joe wrote a letter from the scientists. I think it's up on Pastebin. I'd love for him to read that on video sometime, because even reading it now, it's like you get a little emotional because it was such a fun time. So if you haven't seen that before, the scientists would send out letters like when would go on vacation, because we'd be tired for like 2 weeks and just we're not going to do any submissions. And it was always in that kind of, that joke.
Yeah, I picked up I'm lucky to have one of the Omega Pepes, which is one of the cards like of season 36, which commemorated the end of the OG rares. That was, definitely captures the end.
Yep, definitely. Good times.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you've had your hand on the on the OG rares all the way through, and you've contributed a fake rare. Do you have any plans for any more cards in the pipeline?
The only card I made recently was that Chatelet, Dank Chatelet.
Uh-huh.
It felt really good to make a Pepe, because what happens when you get into these modes is it just consumes you. And like for like the next 6 hours, that's what I'm going to do. And my kids are yelling at me. My wife's upset. I'm like, I got to finish this. It needs to be done. Like, I just want to, and yeah, I do kind of miss that. So I need to think of something else to make. I've got some ideas. I've been doing like hats and that kind of thing. So I just ordered a Rare Pepe floor standing anti-fatigue standing mat for my office. So we'll see how that looks. Yeah.
I ordered one of those Rare Pepe t-shirts off of Scarce City, and I really love that.
Yes.
I can't wait to see what the reaction in public, because I've just worn it around the house so far, but it'll be fun to see what people's reaction to that is.
G Money made some Rare Pepe shoes, and I wore those in Miami. And I wore them in New York too. And it's just funny, like the random people, like the security guard when I was leaving, she was like, "Ooh, I like those shoes." She has no idea what it was, but it's got such a cool purpley kind of frog on there. So yeah, it's fun.
Well, that's kind of a good segue. I know you're one of the main guys who hangs out in the salon, which is one of the oldest token gated Telegram channels.
Yeah, I created the salon back in the day. It was we would just have funny hair memes. We tried to watch a barbershop movie together once. It's just fun. Everything's kind of hair referencing, and anytime someone comes in, you have to ask them if they want to trim or color, that kind of thing. So it's just funny. It's just fun. And I had gotten up to, I think what happened was Joe Looney noticed that when he bought a Rare Pepe that it made him feel good. Like he just was having a bad day, and he would buy one, and he would notice a little, like, a little pep, little jolt. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to try it. And sure enough, it worked. If you buy a Rare Pepe, like, it does something. I don't know what it was. It was like magic. And there was a guy who went really crazy. I think he bought like almost 500 of them.
Yeah.
And his wallet's been dead for a while, but you never know. So yeah, it's fun. That's one use case for NFTs, and you see it with Bored Apes, and there's only so many things you can do with a blockchain, and time stamping receipts for images that are elsewhere is one of those things. And John Villar set up a bot, and we had a Pepe Cash bot, we had the Rare Pepe Salon, but the same bot does all the counterparty assets. So any counterparty asset you create, you can invite this bot in, and it'll make you sign a message from that wallet showing that you own that asset. And then if you dump it, then guess what? The bot kicks you out.
Nice.
So it's just a cool little feature of blockchain technology.
That's cool. Yeah, I think that Rare Pepe is one of, like, it's just such a striking and iconic early Rare Pepe. I mean, it's one that every time I see it, you have to kind of like you end up staring at it for a little bit. It really,
you kind of look at it, you're like how much of that is real? Is that a real person? Well, how was that made? Like, it just
exactly.
the eyes just fit in there right. There's the blending is good.
It's amazing, really.
She eventually did share us the real image.
Did
And
she?
yeah, and it still, it didn't impact how I felt about Rare Pepe, but it was like some like Japanese politician or
Mhm.
personality, maybe I think. But yeah, it's funny. It has a weird look. You just kind of
Exactly. Yeah,
like
it's
it's in a trance and it sucks you in.
exactly. Regardless of value, I think Hair Pepe is going to be one of the most desirable and iconic of the OG rares. It's just, I don't know, it's really something else.
Yeah, it's well done. It's a very balanced card.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you can tell she has amazing skill as an artist
Oh
to pull
yeah.
that.
Yep. It's series one, like you said. I mean, she's early.
Yeah, exactly. And her other card is really again really awesome too. She pulled
Yeah.
off that kind of that old school medieval, you know,
Hmm.
vibe too.
Definitely. Yeah. I actually had one of those. I think I had one even back then because it had a little bit of an animation to it.
Yeah.
And with FSM Pepe, it's kind of the same
Hmm.
genre, you know, the kind of icon. And growing up in the Catholic faith, those icons are everywhere. So you just kind of
Hmm.
gravitate towards them, basically. And so, yeah, she does great stuff.
Yeah. You know, so you've been a scientist and you created some cards too, and you're also one of the most prolific collectors or outspoken collectors too. Behind you, we see. I have to admit, I'm a little bit jelly. You were able to get the physical framed Nakamoto and Hair Pepe from a recent Scarce City auction.
Yes. They know
What?
that I'm a sucker for a nice frame,
Oh man, they
but
did a great job.
they
They
do.
look incredible.
Their framer's great. Um, love them. Yeah, that's my little grill corner over there. Love it.
Yeah,
Very
it.
fortunate. Yeah, I bought a lot of the cards early on that I just thought were
Mhm,
unique, and
mhm.
I thought might be worth something down the road. Obviously, Rare Pepe,
Mhm.
Shitcoin card, Gox Pepe,
Yeah,
UFO Pepe, Pepe Balt, which is that
yeah.
little, you know,
I
demo
think that is
game. You know,
I think that is criminally undervalued right now. I mean, it's amazing that you can still,
yeah,
like last time I looked, you could get one for under $1,000, which is insane to me, right?
yeah. No, I put 10 up on the up for some XCP because I kind of wanted to build some XCP, and I think I can't remember, maybe like $50 or $100. I probably
Mhm.
need to charge more, but no, it's yeah. There's a lot, and Invisible Pepe.
Yeah,
Like you can only have one, the first invisible collectible. Pepe
yeah,
did it. Like everything Pepe's done is like kind of either been the first or the predictions come true, you know, as part of the project. So,
yeah.
um, so it's fun.
I kind of feel the same way. There's very few that are like super unique or like the first, and I think all of those are going to be, probably have a pretty big run or outsized gains in
Mhm.
the future.
DJ
Um,
Pepe, first music NFT, and all of it.
yeah,
And there was another set. There's like a 2 card set where someone's like snorting like the memes. He's got like a little
yeah,
line.
uh-huh,
Of, yeah, there's like
yeah.
that's like the first two. That's the first set of set within a set,
Oh
and
yeah,
they're
I
pretty
didn't.
rare. It's like 20, I think, or 25. So
Yeah,
I'm
those are
lucky to
really
have
low
some of
issue.
those. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. The Shro Pepe is another one I learned about recently too. That's really unique as well.
Yeah. It's interesting that what browser you use will show that card differently.
Mhm.
And I always wondered that people are like, oh yeah, this you can see this. I'm like, I don't see that. And then I switched browsers, and then it was a play on how JPEGs or PNGs are displayed or GIF files. I can't remember, but
It's yeah,
pretty neat.
yeah, really cool. I mean,
Hmm.
definitely the first time that you can have a single, as an NFT, you can have a single image be displayed as two separate ways, right? I mean, pretty cool.
Yeah. Invisible Pepe too has some kind of hidden message in there. I think there was like a private key
Oh, really?
in the metadata of the image
Mhm.
itself. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, are there any other Pepes you're looking to acquire in the near future, or anything else you're on the lookout for?
I tend to collect like the firsts. So I
Yeah.
have a bunch of test, which is like the first
Mhm.
token on
Oh,
Counterparty.
sure.
And I host a party, which is going to be in the Bahamas for the 9-year test anniversary in January. I also do have an FD card, which is really the first
Wow.
crypto art collectible.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was put out by a company, but there's nothing before FD card. And the way they handed it out was so cool with the protein folding, protein
Mhm.
folding at home initiative. There was a Counterparty project that was trying to support that initiative by handing out tokens of their own. And Shaban and the SOG guys thought that would be a good way to get the card out, and they would send it out in fractions. And it being a fractional card, there's only about 180, I think, last I checked, that are combined into one card. So I like that one, and pretty much stick to the rare Pepes. Kind of a Pepe maximalist in a way, I guess.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
So,
that FD card is definitely definitely one I on my, to get someday list. It's definitely
mhm.
a very important piece in NFT and counterparty history for sure.
Yep. So you're going to be in Barcelona for the
Uh, I
historic NFT Fest?
I am undecided on that, but
Hope you
I'm
can make it.
hoping I'm probably going to host a couple of maybe Twitter Spaces to help promote that.
Yeah.
It sounds like a really cool event to help promote the historic
Mhm.
NFT scene and help just help facilitate the cooperation amongst these. One of the things that
Yeah.
I'm like long term, what I'd like to see is or prevent is like some of the tribalism or whatnot that some of the newer NFT communities have kind of can go down, and have, I'd like to see the entire historic space and vintage space, cooperate and have good relations, and like we can build up the tooling and the and resources to, to help each other out and help the entire space out, and maintain the integrity there
Yeah.
to, protect
Yeah.
from.
I think the ones that have a community from the beginning that stayed true and kept the torch going are the ones to look into. And there's been a lot of I don't want to say necrotizing, but kind of, where they just, no one was collecting these back then. The project was half minted and they just like, it's old. Let's collect it again. And no one was really at the drops back then either. Like, I get it. It's old, but I mean, I'll never judge people's art, like for sure. But I think that's what makes Pepe so special is that, you know, it went viral. I mean, it was a good time, special time. So
And also
but
the way that Pepe's were a community project that allowed the artists to do whatever they wanted with their art. Like there's a
mhm.
ton of I've seen a few cards where the artist never distributed a single card, right? I mean, that's okay. And they there's artists that like, that sold all their cards, and there's artists that burned all of a single card too. So
Yeah,
but having that community, like allowing the artists to have full rights over their art, I think was a big part. And allowing them, like anyone in the world could submit a card and had a fair shot at getting accepted. I don't know, the vibe that created as a community project is really special, I think.
absolutely. It's been great to be a part of it, and appreciate what you guys are doing too, and getting the story out there.
Yeah, is there anything else that you want to chat about, or anything that you're kind of looking
Yeah, if
for?
anyone listening is coming to Barcelona, the Rare Pepe scientists are hosting a dinner on the 27th. And it's going to be limited, but there's still some room. It'll be me, Joe, Theo, and Bench as well. And then I also throw a Pepe yacht party in conjunction with the Miami Bitcoin conference. And we had 100 people on this big old boat last, I guess back in May or April. And yeah, it was great. Sunset cruise, dinner was amazing. And a lot of the artists come, and it's just a great time. So I encourage you guys to come aboard and hang out.
That sounds awful, Shawn. Yeah, it definitely sounds like a good time. So
I hope you can make it.
I'm looking for. I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing what happens in the future, both with these OGs and fake rares and fake commons, and it's definitely one of my favorite projects for sure. So, but thanks for
Cool.
taking the time out to chat with me today. It's been a
Yeah.
blast.
Thank you, Zero G. Appreciate it.